My name is Ann Graves, uh, and I attended Notre Dame High School. I was a part of the very first classes that Notre Dame ever had, uh, and I believe the year was 1957. I wasn't Catholic.
Oh, okay.
That makes it interesting.
I was non-Catholic. I went to this school here, which was Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal School at that time. My parents sent me here because this was during the days of segregation. And they felt that going to a private school was better for me as a black kid than to go to the public schools. So I got very involved in school and nuns and priests and everything. And I learned more about religion through the Catholic school than I did as a Protestant. So it was after I went to college that I became Catholic. Okay, so I am Catholic now, but originally I was Methodist.
No, that's good.
good,
I think
yeah.
that's helpful to our story. Okay, I'll just start with like the first question. Just overall, like in general, like how was your experience at Notre Dame High School? Like, kind of. I mean, you just told us like why you went there, but how was the experience, the good and the bad?
I don't remember much good. Okay. And the reason for that was because Notre Dame was one of the first two schools in Greensboro to be integrated.
Oh wow.
And I was among the first black students to go to that school. And we were taunted. I went to Notre Dame from my freshman year in 1956-57
Wow.
to 1958. I was a junior when I left Notre Dame. And the reason I left was because my father, who was the chairman of the biology department at A&T, had gotten a postdoctoral opportunity at the University of Iowa. So me and my family packed up and went to Iowa, and I finished high school out there. Okay. But, you know, the Notre Dame at that time was a boarding school for girls also. So there were a lot of young ladies who boarded there, but it was a day school for boys. And, you know, I can't remember how many African American students were in my class, but it wasn't a whole lot. But when I say taunted, I mean it was mostly by the young white males. I was called the N-word every day of my life that I was there. And I would go home every day crying and pleading with my mother to please take me out of the school and let me go to Dudley. But she wouldn't. She used to just say, well, you're still going to get a good education there. And I have always felt good about the education I received at Catholic schools. But I almost got in serious trouble one day at Notre Dame. And I just really let it all out to one of the sisters because I got tired of being called the N-word. And this little boy was following me down the hall saying N. And I finally turned around and I was getting ready to sock him. And one of the nuns grabbed me and pulled me into the chemistry lab. And I just told her, I said, sister, I can't take this anymore. I just cannot take it. And she says, well, you've got to understand, Ann, they don't know what they're doing. I said, no. Sister, they know what they're doing. They were brought up. And she said, yes, they were brought up that way, so you've got to be patient. I said, well, you know, sister, I think we have been patient enough. We've been patient enough. And, you know, I just really don't know how much more I can take. You know, she listened to me and let me cry and everything. And she went out and she found the young man and told him not to do that again. But that didn't change it. But you know, there were some females there who were Caucasian, and most of them were fairly nice. As a matter of fact, there is a young lady, well, she's not young, she's my age or older, I can't remember. But anyway, she comes to St. Mary's every once in a while, and I didn't remember her. But she came up to me about 2 months ago, and she said, "Didn't you go to Notre Dame High School?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You don't remember me?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, you didn't finish in our class, but I remember you." And she said, "I don't remember your name." So we kind of exchanged, you know, some conversation and stuff, and that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
That was really nice. And a few years ago, I was in J.C. Penney's. It was really weird. But one of the young men who I used to have many of the problems with, he came up to me and he says, "You went to Notre Dame?" And I said, He said, "I don't remember what your name was." And I said, "Ann Graves." And he said, "I think you were in my class." I said, "Yeah, I was. And he said, "Well, it's nice seeing you." And I said, "It's interesting seeing you again." So, but I remember he had 2 older brothers. He was in my class, and then he had a brother in the sophomore class and a brother in the junior class. But you know, I've often wondered, you know, what's happened to a lot of the kids that I went to school with. I understand that at one point they tried to have a reunion. I don't think I was here during that time because, you know, after I finished high school, I went on to college and went away for a while and eventually ended up back here. But I will tell you one of the probably the best experience that I had at Notre Dame was the choir.
Yeah, tell us about the choir.
Well, now the choir was made up of I can't remember how many of us were in the choir, but it was mostly girls. And the nun who ran the choir, she had a beautiful voice, and she taught us some very beautiful songs. And one of the songs that she taught us that I remember the most was the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. "Make me an instrument of thy peace."
Oh yeah, we used to sing that song.
And I remember that. I remember that well. I had no idea that Notre Dame had been torn down. I didn't even know when it closed or anything. I came back here years later. You know, I was married and everything. But I will tell you this. Before it was Notre Dame, it was St. Leo's Hospital. It was a Catholic.
Oh, okay.
It was a Catholic hospital. It was an old Catholic hospital that closed, and the diocese decided to make it into a high school. And it was one of the few it was the only hospital in Greensboro that would take African Americans, because my mother was in that hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So it had an interesting history, and it was a beautiful campus. I will say that, very beautiful campus.
What are your
Yeah, I have a few more questions. Were all your teachers like nuns and priests?
They were all nuns, and I don't know. I don't remember what order they were.
So it was all women?
They were all women. There were Mother Superior and oh God, some of those guys that I was talking about, he used to play some of the dirtiest tricks on some of those nuns. Oh my God. Oh my God. I remember one day, do you want to hear this?
Yeah, we
Yes.
want to hear it.
We want to hear it all. Yes.
One day, we came into the classroom, and you know, I hate to say this, but this particular nun, I don't think she was well, maybe physically or mentally, because they used to play some very dirty tricks that the other nuns would have figured out in a heartbeat. But this particular day, she came into the classroom, and they had set the clock. It was a clock that was in the back of her desk, back on the wall. They had set the clock 45 minutes fast. And she was really just getting into the lesson when all of a sudden, you know, one of these guys says, "Sister, it's time to go. The class is over." And she said, "But I'm just getting started." She said, "But look at the clock, sister."
Oh no.
Do you know she actually let us? I couldn't believe that she didn't realize that we had not been in there 45 minutes.
Oh no.
Yep. They did all kinds of little dirty tricks on her. And I remember one day too that they had played some kind of trick on her, and Mother Superior just couldn't believe that she could be so easily fooled. And she and Mother Superior got into it. Mother Superior had her crying. And before the end of that particular year, she wasn't there anymore.
So Mother Superior, you think, fired her?
Well, either Mother Superior realized there was something wrong or else fired her because, you know, I really felt sorry for her, and I can't remember her name. I can't remember any of the names of those nuns. But, yeah. I don't remember any, maybe there were some priests there, but I don't remember them. But I just remember that we had nuns.
Would your school like go to mass together? Because at Bishop McGinnis we like have mass every month, I think. Like, would your school do anything like that?
If we did, I don't remember. I don't remember any religious ceremonies or masses or May Days or anything like that. Those kind of activities and things I know we had here when I was in elementary school, but I don't remember any of that at Notre Dame.
Yeah. And back to like how you were telling us about other kids taunting you, were like the nuns, like, did they do anything to stop it? Like what did like the supervisors do about
Let me
it?
give you a good example.
Okay.
One day in American history class, and see, now I will never forget this boy's name because I wanted to wring his neck that day. But anyway, we were discussing slavery and the Civil War. And he just kept saying over and over again, "I do not understand how somebody could take somebody's property away," referring to us, of course. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I just thought I was going to scream because he was really angry about it. Just angry.
Right.
That was our property. I don't understand that. I don't care what. We weren't even a part of the United States then. We have seceded from the Union. It's just, you know, that's one of the best examples that I can give you. And she finally just said, "Well, now, George, you know, that's the history of it. That's the way it happened. It can't be resolved here. It's already been resolved. That's the end of it, because we need to move on." But I mean, the argument must have gone on for at least 20 minutes.
Oh gosh.
And you know, with his little peeps back there, sniggering and, you know, laughing and everything. And those of us, you know, just kind of rolling our eyes, looking at each other and saying, "Oh boy." But I mean, that's a good example.
Yeah, no, that is a good example. Well, aside from that, did like Notre Dame High School have like sports teams and sports events at all? If you remember.
I know in gym, and we did have gym, kind of a gym. The girls would play basketball, but we didn't have teams that would really at least not while I was there. We didn't have teams that would compete against other schools. I don't know what happened once, in classes after me. Because as I said, that was the first year it opened.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I was part of the first year that it opened. Yeah. And they could have gone on to have competitions. I don't know. I was, when I came back and found it was closed and everything, I was kind of sad because I had hoped, even while I was away, that things would change, things would get better. It would be a better place for Catholics to go to school.
Like you said, you went there and you were non-Christian. How was it being
I was
there?
non-Catholic.
Non-Catholic,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I was Methodist.
Okay, so you were Methodist, but how was it going to Notre Dame being a different religion than other people?
I just always thought of myself as being Catholic from the moment I came, because my parents weren't, even though I had been baptized in the Methodist church, my parents weren't very religious. They didn't take us, there were 3 of us. I had 2 younger sisters, and my parents allowed them to go to the Protestant high schools, not me. So, having been brought up Catholic, I just felt like I was Catholic. And there were several other students there who were not Catholic who went to Notre Dame too. Notre Dame allowed Protestants to come there. I think we had to pay more of a tuition than Catholics.
Okay. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
the
same.
same for
I think
Bishop.
that's how
Yeah,
it is.
because even here we had to pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do y'all have any questions?
We didn't have to wear uniforms.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh, yeah, that was
That's one
another
question.
thing.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have to wear uniforms, and I was so happy because when I was here, we did wear uniforms.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. So was there like a dress code, or was it just
You could wear whatever
you
you
wear what
wanted.
you want?
Well, back then, I think I hate to say this.
Just let it out.
There wasn't, today there are more young people who wear things that some people would object to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But back then, no, we wore the Barbie socks and the flared skirts and the saddle Oxfords and things that all the girls wore.
Right.
And I was glad to finally be able to get some real clothes. That was one good thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to school shopping.
Yeah. That was good. That was really good.
Oh, that's so fun. Was the school like super strict? Like have a lot of rules? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Catholic schools have all.
I
I don't know what they are now.
Still,
It's still pretty strict.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. You had to be in class by such and such a time, and no loitering in the halls. No, it was very strict. But I think sometimes strictness gives you a lot of discipline, teaches you a lot of discipline.
I agree.
Because when you get out in life, especially when you are at work and working and stuff like that, you have to adhere to certain things. You got to be on time for work. You have only certain time for lunch. There are things you have to do, appointments and things you have to make and keep and stuff like that. So all that to me is for a reason.
That's good. I'm You're saying one of your fondest memories was being a part of the choir.
Mm-hmm.
So was that like an extra curricular thing, or was it a class, or like what
It
was
was
it?
an extracurricular thing, and I just can't remember. I don't remember us competing with other schools. You know, maybe we did, but that's something I don't remember. I just remember I used to enjoy being able to go to choir practice, and I do remember it being more female than male.
Would you guys like sing at masses or anything, or just
But
practice?
see, I don't remember, because I don't remember there being masses there.
Right.
And you know, maybe it wasn't maybe it was just Glee Club,
Yeah.
which is a bit different.
Yeah.
I just remember being a part of that and really, really enjoying it.
That's good.
Yeah, that's really
I
nice.
wish I could have found. We had a yearbook.
Oh wow.
I wish I could have found that yearbook. I had one of them. I don't know if we had one every year or what, but I had a yearbook from Notre Dame, but I don't know where where it is.
Yeah.
And do you think that since you became Catholic after college, right?
I became Catholic while I was in college, yeah. And my middle sister became Catholic too. And my parents had a fit. But anyway.
Do you think that Notre Dame, like the religion classes at Notre Dame, influenced that, or do you think?
The religion classes continued to influence the influence I had already had from here when I was in school. I've just always believed in Catholicism
Right.
as being, you know, the religion that suited my relationship with God more. Now, you know, a lot of the things have changed since I was first baptized. But the basic Catholic theology has not changed. And I know you all don't remember anything about this, but because you weren't born, but you know, we used to say the masses in Latin.
Oh yes.
And the masses were in Latin when I was in elementary and high school. The altar was to the wall. It was not facing.
Oh, they face the back, right?
Face the back.
Okay.
The First Vatican Council changed all of that. And yeah, I mean, I've had some adjustments over the years as far as changes, but the basic theology is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I think that's, unless y'all have any more questions.
Do you feel like you talked about everything you wanted to talk about, like just regarding Notre Dame?
I was sitting here trying to remember if there was anything else that I could tell you. As I said, I do remember it was a beautiful campus. It was a very beautiful campus. I do think that I had been told that after a couple of years, maybe, they discontinued the boarding. You know, I told you initially the girls, it was a boarding school for girls, but they stopped that after a time. And it may have been after, shortly after I left, because I did keep in touch with some of my classmates who were still attending.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
Have you ever heard of Spelman?
Yeah.
I finished Spelman.
Oh, my friend goes there.
Really? Yeah. Oh, yes. I finished Spelman.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then I finished the graduate school down there in social work. So, yeah. But I am happily retired. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I think that's
Yeah.
everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we answered
Thank you
everything.
so much.
Thank
for
you
coming
so
on.
much
This
for
was very
doing this.
interesting.
You're,
Yeah.
you're quite welcome.